All right, let's do our final game. I am heading to that on Sunday. Uh, Hopefully the Deutsche Bahn lets me. It's a 6-hour train journey from Leipzig to Stuttgart. Um, Stuttgart against Leverkusen. I think, last year I watched that game twice last year live in stadium, and then of course the German Cup game as well, on TV. It was the most fascinating matchup that we had. Of course, the Super Cup. I saw the Super Cup as well. Um, Both teams a little bit off the boil. Leverkusen had a good run, but the last three games, the two against Bayern, the one against Bremen, some worrying signs. They're going to be out without Florian Wirtz as well. Stuttgart, they would say they're having exactly the season that they themselves projected. They're currently eighth, 37 points. They're still within the shout of top four. So they will probably, if you told them that ahead of the season, they would have probably taken it. But there's some talk too, Dennis Undorf hasn't been playing as well. Demirovic hasn't had the best run either. There was a lot of turnover. I think the complaints aren't there because, again, they set the table for this. They were really smart in lowering expectations ahead of the season. I personally am looking forward to this game because I think this is a game in which both clubs really have to find solution. But also there's a lot of talk about Sebastian Hoeneß, right? There's a lot of talk about Sebastian Hoeneß here. I've been again reminded today by someone who works for RB Leipzig that Sebastian used to work here as well. I always take that as a hint, hint. There's a lot of talk about Sebastian Hoeneß at Leverkusen as well, right? If Xabi Alonso is going to leave, although, and you can kind of confirm that as well, the indication that I've been given is that I don't think he's going to leave in the summer, although I guess we'll see. I've also talked to some people again today that the Florian Wirtz contract is signed. We all kind of puzzled on why it's not been announced. What is Leverkusen waiting for? Are they going to announce Wirtz maybe together with Alonso? Are they going to announce Wirtz because Alonso is leaving? Or are they announcing Wirtz because, how the clubs want to give a good news and a bad news sometimes? Why are they keeping this behind closed doors is, I guess, the question here, right? It's usually because they want to present it in a certain way. There's a lot of question marks about these two teams, is what I'm trying to say here, Stefan.
Yeah, there is. In a lot of ways, they've kind of been quite similar to one another in the sense that they both had to deal with injuries, they both have to deal with drops in form. It's been a very kind of turbulent season for both clubs. And at the heart of it, they both have two very well-regarded head coaches who probably won't finish the season with the same kind of momentum or hype that they certainly started it with. As you said, Stuttgart are now, eighth in the table, I think you said. There's certainly that in terms of their form. Their form over the course of the last 10 games in the Bundesliga is eighth, just above Gladbach, below Frankfurt, Freiburg, Wolfsburg, Augsburg, etc. I just feel like with Stuttgart, it just seems to be Hoeneß has spent this season just spinning as many plays as he can. The injuries they've had over and over again have just been absolutely remarkable. Al Dakil, for example, at centre-back. I've just got the team open in front of me and all the injuries they've had. Al Dakil is out. Sorry, I said that twice now. They've obviously, for this game, Chabot's missing. Who else was there? Wagnerman's been in and out of the team. Enzo Milo was such a big player, has been in and out of the team. Chris Fulrig's been in and out of the team. He's played for the last 5 games, sure enough, but he's been out of the team. Jakob Brun-Larsen picked up an injury after joining, obviously, in January. Jamie Levelane's only just come back in the last kind of 5 or 6 weeks. Fabian Rieder as well. Valdemata obviously had a really good start to 2025. He's been out of the team. Demirovic has been dropped for the last 5 games due to form. You mentioned Undav, who's been struggling with injury. It kind of feels like if you were to ask me what is Sebastian Hoeneß' preferred start 11 or most used starting 11, I think they'd probably be completely different teams this season. I guess Stuttgart have been able to rely on just having a pretty huge squad, to be honest with you, and a number of young players. And obviously Hoeneß has just done what he can. And they are a system team. They are a team who just kind of focus on, everyone knows how to play their role. Everyone knows what position to play. And they can kind of interchange players in and out. But there's only so much that you can do. And they have really struggled for fitness, form. and they just look like a team that's actually quite exhausted. And it'll be interesting to see how they do against Leverkusen, because they've come up against a Leverkusen team who also look exhausted. Leverkusen just looked like they'd thrown in the towel against Bayern Munich in midweek. They look a team who, don't know what to do without Florian Wirtz in that team. And, where Bayern are kind of getting into their stride, Leverkusen look like they've kind of run the race. So, anything can happen in this game, because I think both teams look like two heavyweights who are just kind of waiting to finish their fight and just waiting for another one to knock them out to an extent. But yeah, as you said, it'll be interesting what happens off the pitch as well. There's been a lot of links with Sebastian Hoeneß to Leverkusen recently as potential replacement for Xabi Alonso. We still don't know what's really happening with him. Although, rumours of him potentially, going to another club have kind of gone quiet since Carlo Ancelotti keeps doing well at Real Madrid. Interestingly enough, there's a big story in England this week saying that Crystal Palace are wanting to give Oliver Glasner a new contract because they're growing more and more concerned. I think as the Athletic reported this, the RB Leipzig have reached out to him to be their next head coach. So Leipzig might be saying, yes, Sebastian Hoeneß, wink, wink, we like that guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jurgen Klopp is actually texting Oliver Glasner to see what his summer plans are. But yeah, so there might be a few managerial moves this summer, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Sebastian Hoeneß does at the end of the season. I think, as you said, even if they were finished 7th or 8th, it's not the end of the world. As you said, they predicted that. That's what they thought they were going to do. And I think as well, like, this has just been such a difficult transition season for Stuttgart that I think they'll just appreciate getting to the end of the season. It's also not really a team with, there are obviously good players in it, but it's not a team with, like, as you would have seen in the past, like, we have 4 or 5 really outstanding young players who will move in the summer. There's maybe like Angelo Stiller, for example, who's been linked with a lot of big move, but aside from him, I don't see, Fulric moving on. I don't really see Jamie Levine moving on. Maybe, you never know. But hopefully most of the squad stays together. Hoeneß gets a full pre-season with them, and they can just go again next season and cause more upset.
Yeah, the one thing about Stiller, and then we should probably wrap this up, is he has an exit clause in his contract, but not for this summer. It's only in effect next summer, right? That was the big story with Bayern Munich potentially signing him as a Kimmich replacement, that they would have to freely negotiate this deal with Stuttgart, and Stuttgart would have probably said no. So I think that's a really good point. There's a really good chance the Stuttgart team stays together better this year than they did last year. So it will be an interesting game. I will have some post-game reactions and some more insights and on the main show as well, and of course in written form on the weekend too. So looking forward to that one. Anyways, let's wrap this up.